So we already know that the system is gone.
I think we're at the heart of the storm. If this decade, the 2020 to 2030, it's like a storm, we're right in the middle, like towards the end already. And that's why it's accelerating and it feels like it's just getting worse.
Whoever is pulling the strings, they're trying so hard. So what we're seeing is a lot of like last breaths of like, oh, let's try this thing. But the interesting thing is like a lot of people are not, they're asleep.
It's like you're on your own.
If we're still waiting for the government, the state, or some savior like second coming Jesus Christ or whoever, we're doomed.
That's the gift of Bitcoin. Like, it really sends you into your swimming class when you think you're drowning.
We can't wait for anything coming outside of ourselves. We are society. We are Bitcoin. We are the change.
Hey, everybody. Thank you for coming back and joining us at the Byte Federal podcast. I am really excited for this conversation today. Two of my favorite women in Bitcoin, Efrat and Monica. Thank you for coming to the channel.
Thank you for having us.
Awesome. So look, I've got sort of an agenda for today. And the reason being is that both of you have really distinct approaches to sort of tackling this crazy world that we're living in right now. And, I see, Efrat, that you've done just tremendous amount of research into the conspiracies and the censorship and the issues that you've been able and problems you've uncovered around the world with your journeys. And Monica, at the same time, you're taking astrology and philosophy and you're trying to come up with these independent personal solutions to help people navigate this space. So I'm hoping that today this conversation can be about pointing out those problems and then giving people real world, both internal and external solutions to navigate this fourth turning, this change in the world that we're experiencing. And coming from these two great minds, I'm really looking forward to the conversation. So thank you. So Efrat,
Wow.
I want to start with you.
Yeah.
Because you've exposed a lot of the corruption and censorship that we've been seeing, not only in finance, but food, medicine, and many more. So I want to get from you in all your travels, where do you think we sit right now in the current state of the world from your perspective?
Ooh, I think we're at the heart of the storm. If this decade, the 2020 to 2030, is like it's like a storm, we're right in the middle, like towards the end already. And that's why it's accelerating and it feels like it's just getting worse and it's getting more chaotic and things are speeding up. And I think we're right in the middle, and because we're getting closer to 2030, which is the year in which a lot of the agendas are supposed to, I don't want to say reconcile, but like they're supposed to be implemented by that date, because that date it's like a year that all those organizations have taken as a significant milestone and are aiming for a lot of their long-term plans. Some of them are like decades long. Some of them are like 40, 50 years long, are coming to an end. So we may obviously see, a push in a few more years because they are not doing great with achieving some of those goals that they've put for themselves. Because as you all know, and probably your audience as well, some of them are really unrealistic, and they've still created plans around them, thinking, with their hubris and also with the high level of mind control and propaganda, that they will succeed in all of them. So they won't succeed in all of them, but they will push through. And what we're seeing right now, in my opinion, is just them going all in. When you're going to lose in a poker game or something, you have two choices. You either like fold back, gently try to not make the other players see that you've been bluffing or that you don't have a good hand, and just like call it off. Or you're like, yeah, I'm doubling down on my lie, and I'm gonna scare them all, because they're gonna see how confident I am, and we'll just push through and it will work. So in many of the areas, like the censorship, everything we're seeing online now, the digital censorship and the internet, and it's like the so-called protect your child. Before, a few years ago in COVID, it was protect your grandma. Like, we're always protecting someone, but under the guise of all this safety and protection and convenience, we're bringing about like the surveillance, technocratic world that everyone is, used to talk about that world, and everyone called us conspiracy theories. And now it's like, this is the plan. This is what's coming. Like, they're saying it out in the open. So those things are happening. By the way, thank you for your kind introduction. I obviously did not expose all the corruptions in the world.
It's all
but,
because of you.
I'm
That's the
doing
whole
my
reason why
part.
the Epstein list was released. We would never come to light if it wasn't for
It's
you.
not me, but, I'm doing my part. But, on that censorship part, like, I've been like even boring myself the last few years with how much I've been writing and talking about it, and people didn't really care, because they don't care until they have to learn how to use a VPN, or now they have to start identifying themselves before they go to websites, or all that stuff. They're like, it sounds so far, and yet it's so quick that we got here. Like, now you have Germany, Spain, Australia, UK, you name it. In the States, they're working in some states on similar laws. Like, it's coming everywhere. The big tech are self-imposing those laws on themselves, even if they don't have to. You have Discord, you have Substack, you have WhatsApp, you have Telegram, like, just name it. They're all like going in the same direction, all executing the actual playbook that the UN has told them to execute a few years back. And so, yeah, so people better wake up if they haven't yet, and get their shit together and figure out how to navigate this really different reality than what they're used to. This is different. Like, now, like, I've been also, my keynotes in the past year was all about that. The way I opened my keynote in all the stages around the world was, we're walking into a world of permission and identification. As long as as they give you the permission and you're identified, you're good to go. If you're not identified and they didn't give you the permission, forget about it. You're going to suffer. So people have to prepare, because they have to understand how to navigate the world when they don't want to be identified and they don't want to ask for permission on everything they do. And that is the world. And us three, we already exercised this in the last few years with Bitcoin. We understand what it means to take back our sovereignty and not ask for permission for everything. And Monica and others also went further to the natural law and the common law, and to like really take it another step further. So there are people around us that are already trained in how to resist and how to find alternatives and how to live in such a world. But most of humanity is not. So people are shocked, and they're becoming mental, and they're becoming very violent. And you can see the discourse online. People are like either despaired or, I don't know, nihilistic or violent, and definitely toxic. That's the easiest, like behind the keyboard. And we have just started this thing. This is we're 2026. We have like a couple of good more years to go until CBDCs are being rolled out. And, this is going to get worse. So, sorry.
If you were to say 10 were winning, 1 were losing, where would you
Who's
put
we? The
humanity
Bitcoiners?
at? Humanity.
Or humanity?
Sovereign-minded, freedom fighters,
Oh,
people that want to...
sovereign-minded freedom lovers are 10 out of 10, 12 out of 10. We'll always be. We'll be the ones figuring it out, navigating it, and then showing the way. I hope so. I mean, this is my hope and maybe even expectation from us sovereign individuals, that we'll be kind enough to give a helping hand to those who want to, to join. So I think we're fine, but and obviously we have our challenges. We're not perfect, we're not immune, we're not like, we're not superheroes, although we're pretty cool. Um we're pretty
So,
cool, yeah.
Monica.
But it's much easier for us. But then the rest of humanity is like, on that scale, they're like a 2 to 4, 5.
Gotcha. Yeah.
That's how I scale it.
Okay. So, Monica, as an astrologer and a philosopher and someone who's studied law, where do the astrological cycles put us now? 2025, 2026, from what I understand, are pretty important shifts. And a lot of those shifts are currently in progress. So from your perspective, how is the astrological map sort of defining the territory going forward? And what changes can we expect? How does it relate to what Efrat is describing with this chaos and the drama around the world right now?
Okay, so thank you for that question. It's quite a very extensive question, but I'm going to try to put it into something that is more logical. So we always repeat cycles, and the cycles in astrology are determined by the relationship between certain planets. So, for instance, this week is very, very important because the last time the two planets, Saturn, that defines reality, defines our presence in this planet, it's moving. It just moved to Aries, and it's going to conjoin Neptune on Friday at 0 degrees of Aries. If you understand a little bit about astrology, 0 degrees is the beginning of everything. It's like reset. Like, remember all those digital clocks that you go tuk and they go 0, 0, 0. That's where we're going to be. Now, this has not happened in this degree for 6,000 years. We have done stuff in Aries in 1703. Every 36 years, we have these two giants meet, and they distort the illusion of society, and then they put it down. So the last time they met, it was November. I mean, they met 3 times that year, but the last one was November 9, 1989. I don't know if you remember what happened that day. Do you remember what happened that day?
That was the fall of the Berlin Wall. Is that right?
Correct. And the whole year they met 3 times. I had the chance to be in East Germany that summer because my mother had been invited, but long story short. So I was able to talk to many people in East Germany, and everybody was feeling that was going to happen. We saw a lot of stuff in Czechoslovakia. We saw like the whole block was falling, falling, falling. So by the time it fell, I was already like, yeah, of course this is going to happen. So we're in the same kind of territory in terms of like energy. So we already know that the system is gone. We're just trying, as Efrat is saying, the system, the deep state, whoever is pulling the strings, they're trying so hard. So what we're seeing is a lot of like last breath of like, oh, let's try this thing. But the interesting thing is like a lot of people are not, they're asleep. They're asleep because they don't understand. And, we saw with so-called COVID how many people complied. And this is super interesting because at 0 degrees of Aries means the beginning of an individual, of an identity. We have no idea where we're going because we're at the 0 degrees. So the identity that society is going to build depends on each one of us, not the government. If we're still waiting for the government, the state, or some savior like second coming, Jesus Christ or whoever, the prophet, whatever, we're doomed because we can't wait for anything coming outside of ourselves. We are society. We are Bitcoin. We are the change. So everybody has to go, not they don't have to, but they could go inside of themselves and try to find in which area of their lives they need to become more sovereign. They need to become less codependent of the state. So we do Bitcoin. So we know that, the financial landscape, we have kind of made a lot of arrangements with that, freedom fighters and all of that. I have gone a little bit deeper because I do believe that there is a very big problem right now that people don't understand in language. That is the difference between legality and lawfulness. We are people that have inalienable rights. We're born free. And states have been taking away our property. And the most important property is our body. So when you understand how to confront this, it's not by fighting. And I'm sorry, it's not about protesting. It's about standing. Stand for your rights. And if you don't know what your rights are, study them. Because this great country that I became naturalized 2004, and I love this country because it has the only country in the world that has the Bill of Rights with the First and the Second Amendment. No other country has that. So if we don't protect that, we're going to become like Europe or Australia or any other, because these countries that are under the common law, they could stand for their rights. But locals don't know how to do that. I mean, look at the UK. I mean, these people are the most, I'm sorry to say, brainwashed. They're completely brainwashed in a socialist environment. And I know many people that they still speak about Bitcoin, but they have the back engine is completely socialistic. And it's like, what are you talking about? So at the very end, what I see is this is a great opportunity. This is a great reset, but not the great reset that Hillary Clinton and all these people are talking about in Davos and all these places. The great reset is inside. So when there's a lot of shadow, there's also a lot of light. So I decided some while ago, and I love talking about the things that don't work in the world, but that's not me. I'm full of hope, and my personality is less like this doesn't work, and more like, hey guys, there's some flowers over here. So I decided to invest myself more in trying to feed my energy with the positive and creativity. So we're already in the fourth turning, but according to me, I'm already halfway through the first turning. So I'm creating. I put a lot of joy in what I do. I have a lot of wishes that I want to happen, and I'm just creating stuff. And this is what I can tell people, if you don't know what to do and you don't have the strength to fight, just focus on yourself, focus on your own individuality, focus on your own sovereignty, because right now, this is the moment to be selfish, 100% selfish, and not to bend with the boundaries of other people, other governments. So it's all about standing for who you are. And there are many ways to get there. I mean, if you haven't done it until Friday, you're not going to die. But if you have the willingness to go further, be brave. There's so many people that are supporting communities. There's so many individual people that are supporting people. So it's just a question of willingness. Am I willing to go that way? Because when you go that way, and we saw it with COVID, like I didn't get the vaccination. And this is the reason why I went to study common law, is that I was given an opportunity to do a very big commission in the city of Boston. So my contract was with the city of Boston. And even though the contract didn't say anything about mandates because it was signed before, by the end, they wouldn't allow me to go and install if I didn't wear a mask and prove every 3 days that I had to do a PCR test or show the vaccination card. So I went in one of those like dark web, whatever, Telegram groups that I belong, and I asked, what can I do? And they gave me a letter that it was based on natural law that I sent to the mayor of Boston, one of the wokest people in the world. She was with Hillary Clinton 2 days ago in Munich. I mean, this woman is like Chinese, speaks perfect Spanish. I mean, whatever. She was my boss. And she asked me for that. And I said, I'm not going to comply because above me, there's only the law of God. And after me comes your law. I'm not going to do this. And so I got an email saying that she was going to make an exception. And that's the funny thing. When you get you get that kind of response, you know you're doing the right thing. Same with the voluntarily annual contracts people sign on April 15. I'm not going to say that's the same thing. You have to learn how to do it, stand for your rights, and keep on being sovereign.
Thank you. So, Efrat, I want to come back to you real quick. So, you know, Monica just
Can I say
described.
one
Oh,
thing
yeah,
about
please
what
go ahead. Yeah.
Monica said? So one of my readers on my blog, she wrote me this really great comment the other day after I've been banned by Substack. She wrote, "Why is freedom of speech the First Amendment in the U.S. Constitution? Because it is the most important freedom we have for the same reason it is the first target an adversary subverts, disrupts, and destroys during a crime, a war, or a takeover, preventing a target from assembling, communicating, and organizing a response to an assault grants an enormous advantage to the aggressors. If freedom," and this is a quote of George Washington, "if freedom of speech is taken away, then dumb and silent we will be led like sheep to the slaughter." And the Second Amendment is second because it is the remedy for anyone trying to subvert the first. I loved it.
Yeah,
Correct.
that's exactly a perfect lead into my next question, and that's really well said. So, I mean, those are realities in the United States. I mean, if you hold them true to yourself, I guess. But as as someone living on the Bitcoin standard and bouncing all over the world, what does that landscape look like in the U.S. versus other countries? Like, I mean,
Mm,
how
yeah.
I guess if you were to look around the world, where would you see the most freedom and the most sovereignty or the most potential to have the green shoots after the fourth turning?
Well, when I go to the different countries I normally land at pockets of Bitcoiners. So I do meet up with a lot of Bitcoin communities wherever I go. So, and that is interesting because then I get a perspective of what it's like to be a Bitcoiner in that country. Because otherwise, why would I go to a country to just like live there without? I mean, I look for the Bitcoin communities. And so, for example, in places like Argentina and Brazil when I was there a year before, obviously El Salvador, which I've been to 3 times already. Um, I'm trying to think of other countries like Thailand, maybe. Yeah, it's a good example. Or here in Bali. These are places that are not like your Western, the Western countries. And the awareness to Bitcoin and the ability to be sovereign and live with Bitcoin in those countries is higher than it is in the West today.
Huh.
Most of the Western countries I go to, with the exception of Prague and Lugano, I mean, Switzerland, it's not in all of Switzerland, it's not in all of Czech Republic, but it's specifically in the cities of Prague and Lugano. In Europe, they're the exceptions. Otherwise, any other place I've been to in Europe or in the United States, you cannot, and obviously in Israel, you cannot live on a Bitcoin standard. The only thing you can do is find the place to cash out some of your Bitcoin to the local fiat so that you can live on the local currency. No one has the mindset of Bitcoin is money. They're all with Bitcoin is gold. Bitcoin is a digital gold. Bitcoin is a store of value. So they all just, they don't even think of Bitcoin in terms of payment mechanisms. Now, obviously, in the United States, you have the exceptions of the circular economies in some smaller places like Austin or like, I don't know, even in Florida, you guys are like, you're talking, but you're not really doing it. Like, you're not walking the talk. You're like, yeah, you do a lot of Bitcoin stuff, but still you can't find merchants. There is no real circular economy.
Uh-huh.
It's like, it's again, it's still a store of value. Yeah, you're very libertarian. Like people really appreciate their their sovereignty and everything, but there are no circular economies that I've seen that are worthy of mention in the United States. Maybe I haven't been there yet, but I haven't seen any. But I did see a lot of great circular economies in Argentina, in El Salvador, several places in Lugano, in Prague.
Mm-hmm.
Quite amazing to see that those places are really pushing hard, and it's all because of local Bitcoiners who are committed to the cause. It's all because of the people driving it from the bottom up. It's not the other way around. You see, look at the United States. From the moment that Square announced that they're switching on their Bitcoin Lightning payments on the Square POSs, and 4 million merchants in the United States, have you seen a significant change?
Right.
The only thing that gets close to like a success is Steak and Shake, who are taking the initiative to do it in their own branches, and then they start paying some employees with bonuses with Bitcoin and things like that. It's only if you have the people who are diehard believers and committed to the cause that they will make it happen in their surroundings. So their community can be a business, or it can be a physical, like a geographical area. Like Steak and Shake is all throughout the continent, but they're doing good job to like spread it around their businesses. So I would call them the closest thing to a circular economy that you have in the US.
Mm-hmm.
And and the reason why I'm making the comparison between circular economies and just like pockets of Bitcoiners is because I believe, like, just by seeing it with my own eyes, that when merchants start accepting it, then the conversation changes, because then they view Bitcoin as money. Because when payments are done, it's a whole other level. It's not a stock, it's not an asset anymore, it's money. And then the view is different, and then the conversation is different, and then the whole thing is different. I mean, Prague now has more than 1,500 merchants that are accepting Bitcoin. When I go there, I don't need to use euros and or kronos, whatever, Czech kronos. And in Lugano, 450 merchants. I lived there for 3 weeks on Bitcoin. In fucking Switzerland, you can live on Bitcoin. It's kind of unreal. But it's all because and again, free Madeira, they're doing the same, 200, 300 merchants, only because they care, only because what's her name, Federico and Andre and the team there, they're really committed, and they're doing it. South Africa
Mm-hmm.
with the guys at Ikasi and all the other communities, they're doing the work. There's a lot of work, legwork, education, like being really strict with the rules. You don't convert back to fiat. You earn, you spend, you save, but you don't convert back to fiat. And they're all like holding people accountable. So I am hopeful, and I am optimistic that this will carry through to other places, because I think that at one point, when the shit's gonna hit the fan even more on the CBDC side and the stablecoin side and the digital panopticon that we're heading towards, even the Bitcoiners that have their Bitcoin in Western countries and are not living in circular economies are going to feel the need to double down on creating the community around them that can sustain this way of living, because we don't want to go back to fiat, and we don't want to go to CBDC or stablecoins. I don't want to live on a stablecoin. It's like, fuck this shit, I'm not in Bitcoin for Tether, It's like, with all the respect to Tether and whatever, I'm in Bitcoin, I'm not in Tether. So I will, the moment I settle down somewhere, and I don't know when and where it's going to be, but the moment I do, I'm going to work to, to create those collaborations with other community and like-minded people to create this reality. I mean, Isabella Santos in the little Isla Mujeres, the little girl is like driving on her fucking, what's it called, tuk-tuk around the island. Orange mean, the taxi drivers with the mafia. Like, she's insane. But that's what she's doing. It's like she wants to live there. She's happy with her boyfriend. They have this little hotel. They're like, fuck this shit. We're doing a circular economy here. You want to come stay in our hotel? Good. You play in Bitcoin. You eat in Bitcoin. You do retreats. We do classes. It's like they're taking the initiative. And that's for me, this is the inspiration. This is the muse, I look at these people and I go, yes, this is how we do it.
I think that's very well said. And it kind of reminds me, Monica, about how you have always described Bitcoin as a state of consciousness. And these people are putting that state of consciousness into reality in all these different places around the world. So maybe you could tell our audience a little bit about how you see Bitcoin as a state of consciousness rather than technology, and how that helps create a mind shift.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, I always say that it's a state of consciousness, but it will meet you where you're at because everybody's at different levels of consciousness, and consciousness will be like the base layer. Like, consciousness is akin to, it's even below awareness. This is like what makes you realize who you are in this planet, not just physically, but spiritually, emotionally, mentally, physically. It's like the condensation of all these fields that makes you become aware. So when I came with that, it was because for me personally, it became the synthesis of everything that I had been studying throughout my life. And that's why I said, oh my God, this is amazing. This is not just a technology. It is a technology. Bitcoin is money. I mean, I'm not going to try to put it into something else, but just the idea of understanding money at that level in a very logical way that is non-emotional, which is very important. Because if we are guiding our lives with emotional waves, we're always going to be part of that wave. It's a little bit like looking at the markets. It's like, it's here, and people guessing, when is it going to go to 141? The market doesn't work like that, and emotions don't work like that. So one of the things that is very incredible to be able to do, and I've been doing that a lot in the last few years, is regulating your nervous system. Regulating every day how your body actually expands and contracts. Because if we look at the Bitcoin chart and it contracts if we see the candle go down, or it expands of joy without having a cap when you see the candle going up. But we shouldn't be reacting, we should be responding to things. Especially with money, it should be a logical. That's why Mises created praxeology, such a beautiful science, just to understand that you make those decisions with the logic mind, not with your heart, not with the enthusiasm that can happen when the wave is like that. So for me, I think it's like imperative that people will go back to their own humanity and understand how they respond instead of reacting through their nervous system, how they create an inner dialogue with the truth. Are they living the truth, or are they being fooled by the collective ball that they're actually living the truth? So there's so many steps, and that's why I say like this is so different for everybody, because we're at very different stages of consciousness. And it's not that it's higher. I don't believe in higher and lower. I don't believe in hierarchies. What I say is like, and I recently wrote an article called The Battlefield is a Frequency, because we're all feel right now that we need to fight against something. And you see fight in Bitcoin. Everybody's fighting, and everybody's fighting this and that, which is kind of great. I'm a warrior for nature, but I decided in this lifetime that the best way to confront things is not killing the opponent unless, I have to because I'm in danger, but rather than like using that energy, that drive to see how can I transform my life through movement. So evolution is movement. So when you are in a battlefield of ideas, and you're in a battlefield that every single arrow comes at you, probably means that you're not really aligned in your frequency. Probably the world and the nature is telling you that you are going against your own flow. So I wrote that and I always relate everything personally. When my father died, I was very young, and my mom was an incredible widow. But everybody that I met kept on saying, "Wow, she's a fighter. She's a fighter." And I never saw my mom as a fighter. My mom was the most creative, crazy innovator visionary I've ever met. So that's the field, that's the environment that I grew up with. So I want to right now put myself in creative environments because I've seen how much I can evolve if I am surrounded by creative stuff as opposed to fighting. I never ever considered my mother a fighter. Oh yeah, but if she needed to fight, she would. But it was not her nature to be in the constant battle. So that's why I say it is like Bitcoin is a state of consciousness. The battlefield that we are right now is a frequency that you choose, and you choose because you're an individual. Nobody is telling you to choose to fight. You are choosing it because you want to. So it's a little bit like the tale. I don't know if you know the tale of the two wolves, but this Cherokee is a Cherokee tale that the grandson asked the grandfather that there are two wolves. One is good and the other one is evil. And he asked the grandfather, who will win? And he says, the one that you feed. So we have to be very, very aware of what kind of information and energy we're feeding to ourselves. And again, if you were born to fight, go and do it. Because, we need warriors in this life. But as you were saying, Efra, like people choose different ways to connect to their own sense of self, like Isabella, like many people are doing it in a way. Like you have a voice, and so you go around asking people for their voices, and this is your alignment. For me, it's a different thing. So, and for you, Paul, it's different. So I think that we should really kind of realign with who we are. And another thing that I didn't say during the cycles is like tomorrow we have an incredible eclipse. And it's going to be the first eclipse in 18 years, 18.6, that is pointing.
Just for marking this date, it is February 16th that we're recording this, so people know.
Tomorrow is February 17th, and we have the first eclipse, or the first part of the eclipse touching. There's a new moon in Aquarius. And so Aquarius is about networks, it's about technology. Bitcoin was born during this eclipse season. And we're going to have Bitcoin coming of age, like 18 years old, because we are going in cycles of 18, 36. But this is interesting. 36 is also the same cycle of Saturn and Neptune. So we have two cycles meeting this week, too, that are very poignant. So one of the other things that I was doing research is like every single year, or every single time that this 18.6 cycle meets in Aquarius and Leo, there's always a financial crisis for some reason. 1933, banking system collapse, centralization. 1952, there's all these structural alliances, UN, IMF, like all these things that they were actually put into service. Then 1971, I mean, what happened in 1971? Then we have 1989, which is like geopolitical polarity that is collapsing, and it's the beginning of globalization. And we're at the end of globalization right now. I don't think that we're going to continue because there are too many people awake. They're not going to allow that to happen. I'm not pro or against this administration, but thank God for this administration, because otherwise we would be this 2030 thing would have been enacted already and people would be like really desperate. So right now what happens is that we are in a kind of like a test of what sovereignty is at an individual and collective level. So one thing that I wanted to say, I don't want to go too deep into it, but I've been really analyzing this, is like before times, people were holding to their land. So you had the landlords were the owners and the real estaters and people like that. Right now, that feudal system is all in the networks. So they're fighting for that land. Who owns the networks? And the interesting thing is this. When you sign up to a private company such as Substack, X, Meta, all these people, you are complying with their terms and services. The thing is that nobody reads that shit. I don't. Do you? And so at the very end, when they decide for good or for ill to start enabling stuff that sounds outrageous, I'm sorry. You complied. Same thing with the taxes. You comply. You voluntarily. So the whole idea is trying to educate people. And I'm educating myself enough to see if I can start teaching this in a way that won't put myself in danger. So I don't want to be a target, but to give people a little bit of places where they can go and learn the difference between, not allowing something to happen and censorship. This is one thing I learned like a year ago. I think there was this thing with Jimmy Kimmel. Remember when he said something about, not a year ago, 6 months ago with Charlie Kirk? He was working for a private company. I think he works for ABC. And he was saying, I've been censored. That's not true. He was not censored by the government. He was not. Maybe the government influenced ABC through other things, but normally we cannot use that word because he was banned by, he's bound by a contract to serve the chief. And then he broke some sort of internal law. But if you sign a contract, that means, you sign the contract, you put yourself in it. So the interesting thing is like only governments can ban, but private companies can use that idea, like they're doing in Australia, that you have been, speaking so much effort to enable this to control the network. Because at the very end, that's what they're fighting for. Who owns the network? And this is what Pluto in Aquarius is. Networks, people, collective. We need to transform that. Does that make sense? I don't know.
It does. It reminds me of your quote that Bitcoin as Promethean fire, and reclaiming power from a centralized world. So maybe you could expand on that and how that view could inform
so
this shift.
We have to go very quick into what is the myth of Prometheus. So Prometheus is a Titan. He's a born, he lives among the humans. So he's not a god. So when you're a god, you're in that realm. But when you're a human, tough luck. You're down here. So he decides to give fire to the humans because he thought, people are living in darkness. And it's very symbolic, this idea of giving light, illuminating people, like showing them the way or whatever. Like a little bit, that's why I say that Bitcoin is Prometheus. Not as Saylor says that it's Satoshi. That's another conversation. But so Prometheus gives fire, and then the god who's ruling is called Zeus or Jupiter. He says, oh, this guy is bad. We're going to punish him. So he is attached by chains to a rock. And every morning, there's a bird that comes and eats his liver. So if you know that the liver is the only organ can be reproduced within hours, like you cut part of your liver and it reproduces. So he was going to be in eternal pain, chained to a rock because he was naughty. Now, Chiron at the same time is also, he's an immortal born from Saturn. Remember the guy that used to eat his children, that's Saturn. And Saturn is time. And he's born to a woman that converted herself as a horse. And so when he is born half a horse and half a human, the mother goes like, ew, this is not my son. So he has this first rejection. With time, he gets trained by Apollo and he becomes a healer, he becomes an archer, he becomes many things, even an astrologer. But then one day, an arrow that it was wounded hit one of his legs. And so it was very painful for him to be an immortal and never be able to heal. He says no, but he was very intelligent. So he comes to the same guy, to Jupiter, and says, I have an idea. Why don't I give my immortality to Prometheus? That guy's not that bad. He just gave light to the humans. And Jupiter says, yeah, but you will have to die. He goes, like, please, that's my sacrifice. So he basically sacrificed his life, gives it to Prometheus. Prometheus is liberated, and Chiron, becomes a star in the constellation of Sagittarius. So the whole myth is very, very important, especially this week with everything that is happening, is the fire that we have is our own liberator. If we have the light, we can make decisions. And even if we have a very painful life, we have to confront with courage. And then that's what's going to liberate you. But nobody's going to save you from that. You have to do it. So Bitcoin alone doesn't exist. Bitcoin exists because humanity is giving it value. And that's why I think it's very important right now that Bitcoiners understand that every single fight and every single distortion and every single polarity is not about Bitcoin. It's about each one of us that has not integrated what Bitcoin is for. Because it's more, they're more taking care of the little stuff. I'm not saying that that's not important. Obviously, there are things that are very important, but discernment is so important these days, because what I see, I just barely go to Twitter, like X. It's like everybody's fighting. It's like, I don't want that energy. I already chose the battlefield that is very creative. It's with seeds that are flowering. So I don't need that kind of rhetoric, because it's very diminishing for my spirit. But it is important. Now, the last thing that I'm going to say is, like, we entered with the Bitcoin chart to a different level last year, because Bitcoin is, it's a teenager, and in a year is going to be, 18 years old, it's going to leave home. But in the chart, natal chart, or the event chart, we have Saturn that is defining everything in Virgo in the second house. So the definition of what money is has always been very important for Bitcoin. Like, what is the purpose of this technology? But it's natally, it has Uranus, which is this eruptive, energetic energy, in Pisces that is all about merging. So what happened was, a lot of people gave trust to the government and to the ETFs. So basically, Bitcoin married for convenience, but did not understand that it married an abuser. So it's going to take some time for people to wake up. And unfortunately, I saw it coming. Everybody that basically used their coins as a collateral and they bought at the ATH, you never do that, because somebody told them that it's going to go to 140 or 200. You don't do that. You don't give away your coins just because you don't understand what you're doing, or because X, Y, and Z are doing it. So this is a very big awakening we're going to have right now, because I don't know. I personally think it's going to go down a little bit more. So there's going to be more things, more alarms, blip, blip, blip. And I hope that people do understand what they're doing with their money and their freedom, because it's not a joke. I mean, it is our way out. As Effort was saying, it's like, if you start really doing this is a way out to a sovereign kind of life. But if you're, I don't know, in a casino, kind of gambling with that, this doesn't help the system. This doesn't help you. This doesn't help anything. So we are in a very, it's interesting, because this Saturn and Neptune conjunction, it's revealing, finally, that's why we have the files, is revealing the truth. But then you have to ask yourself, am I revealing my own truth, or am I still going to live under my same lie? Because this is a moment of reckoning. Are you living your truth really, fully? And if not, what is it that I need in order to open up? And what are the steps? And become very logical about it. Like, I don't know how to Bitcoin, so let's get into a class. Let's go to a meeting. But I forgot what you're doing, Efrat. It's a meeting of women that you're going to have a lot of people getting there.
Summit.
A summit. Forgot the word. So it's like there's so many ways that are even for free that people are not even realizing that there's so many opportunities to get out of it. But it requires, like Prometheus, to be brave, because that light is inside of us. But if we don't want to open it up, then, and I'm done with trying to wake people up. I teach, actually started joining more communities right now. And I just, I'm the preacher of, my Bible is Bitcoin, and I talk about it. And I have really taught to quite few people now, because I developed a course and I pre-recorded everything, and it's been amazing. And people are just being so thankful. Like, ever since you arrived to this community, you changed the rhythm of what money is. So I know we can do it. So in my terms, it's education, awareness, and kind of putting everything together, because it's not just money. It's emotional intelligence, it's spiritual intelligence, like all the levels.
Efrat, did you have something you wanted to add?
Yeah, I think that we are very lucky that we have, in this global community that we've formed, we have a lot of really great people, and not just smart, but like people with good hearts. And there are like we inside this community, we really can be very resourceful and self-sustained if we collaborate and reach out to each other, because you know I'm amazed every day when I consume my favorite content out there. From A lot of it is from Bitcoiners, and like how great this community is and how beautiful, how like rich, intellectually rich and emotionally rich. And I just feel like people are yeah, I don't know how to say this. Like they need to get their shit done in order to move to the next step of using the community and creating the community and collaborating with other people next to them, because too many people are either too lazy or too scared to take significant steps in their lives to change something, to confront the shadows and the trauma, and they don't want to touch stuff. And things, just like things are coming out in the collective consciousness around us with, the Epstein files being exposed and all that shit, this is happening on an individual level as well. And that shadow is being put right in front of our face.
Yes.
And we need to be courageous to take it head on and jump into it and do the work and come out of the other side stronger and smarter and relieved, like weight being lifted off our shoulders so that we have more space and more not just physical space, but consciousness and more time and more headspace and mind space to then devote ourselves into the stuff we want to create and the community we want to build. And we cannot be there for other people if we still are dealing with our shit. And so if we are the way showers and we are the ones that, you asked me before about the scale, we're like ranked higher on that scale. I know Monica doesn't like lower higher, but you know what I mean? Like we've got it a little bit more figured out than the rest of humanity, then we're the ones that we're the people we've been waiting for. We're the ones that need to get our shit together so we can help other people, but we can't help anyone else. It's not enough to know Bitcoin and then to help someone with, a textbook about Bitcoin or buy the Bitcoin standard or here's my starter kit, take it and learn. It's not enough.
Yeah.
It's like you need to be the walking example of being sovereign and being free and being so inspirational and so cool and so loving and kind that people would want to hang out with you or be with you, ask you questions, and they won't be intimidated by you and they won't be turned off or they won't start fighting with you. They're like, if you're not the living example of being free and sovereign, then, what kind of way are we showing? Because it's not about just, beating inflation and having a few more percentages of profit in our fiat. It's not about that.
Right. So many things come to mind with what we've just talked about here. But one is the story of the like filling up your own cup so it will overflow to fill others. And Monica talked about this is the time to be selfish. This is the time to fill your own cup. You become that person, that example of how you build that full cup that then overflows to others, which is what you were just describing, Efrat. And I think that's such a beautiful metaphor for the way Bitcoiners want to communicate. But at the same time, I think we're touching on this idea that we're not talking about like Bitcoin just as money. We're talking about the Bitcoin mindset, the Bitcoin consciousness, and this idea that the money is the tool. It's one of the sovereign tools that we're going to incorporate. But at the same time, Bitcoin as a community goes well beyond money.
Oh yeah.
And leads. So I think maybe people that are new to the space sometimes get confused. Like they think, oh, these Bitcoiners are crazy. They think that they just have the money, all their problems are solved, right? And if the number goes up, all their problems are solved. But really what it was is that Bitcoin was the key that unlocked this mindset or this Bitcoin consciousness, which then allowed you or forced you to look internally and say, okay, like Efrat said, I got to get my shit together because I've got this, I've got the ring and I can't lose the ring. Right. And,
Oh yeah, exactly.
and does
I
that,
have a
go ahead.
I have a theory with Bitcoiners and Aquarius because I've done enough charts of Bitcoiners. And I always notice like where is Aquarius or where is Uranus, which is the ruler, or what's in the 11th house. And I'm going to write a book about it or something because every single person that is a hardcore Bitcoiner has Aquarius. Now, I'm going to tell you what Aquarius, Uranus in the 11th house really mean other than technology or networks or the collective. It also means trauma. It means collective trauma. And it is trauma that is carried throughout lifetimes. So we do have this long-term memory. Sometimes it comes in dreams, you know that, Paul. And it comes in also you, Effort. I know you like receive a lot of information from dreams. So it is interesting because the information that Aquarius is very objective and it's very detached and it can be disembodied. It can be completely like, we're going to be objective about this and we're going to say this is green, this is red, and this is blue. That's really the objectivity that we bring with Aquarius. Now, the interesting thing is that when you observe this, I start asking the question, so what is the trauma that we're all connected to? Because when Bitcoin came into our lives, we immediately, I mean, not exactly the next day, but it was a process of recognizing that Bitcoin as money can lead us to other layers of consciousness. So my theory is that because I believe in multiple lives and, in different stages,
Slavery.
I don't believe in like coming before and after. I believe that all these parallel realities exists, timelines that exist all at the same time. So there's a recognition of understanding Bitcoin as the vessel to understand what was done wrong in other lifetimes, whether it was in Atlantis or Lemuria or, well, it doesn't matter, in the stars, in Antarctica. It doesn't matter if the earth is flat or not, because I'm not trying to say that. But what it matters is like the recognition as a soul that there's something that is not really working. And every time that Aquarius goes around, is always bringing the same story. We're not handling money properly. We're not taking care of the collective in the way they should be. Networks are being used and abused, etc., etc., etc. So now what is beautiful is that Pluto entered Aquarius in 2023. And since then, we've seen an acceleration, schizophrenia that is mental. Just see what happened with OpenClaw in the last 2 weeks. And then, yesterday, it's open knowledge that OpenAI snatched that guy, genius guy. I just listened to a lot of his stuff. But it's interesting because the commoner, because Aquarius is the people, the commoner comes and creates something that I don't know how many billions OpenAI has been throwing to its developers to develop something better that works, and it doesn't. So this is the age of people as individuals to say, if I have an idea about to change the world, I can bring it. And I don't have to wait for the institution to basically say, please help me. No. So
Yeah.
our individual core as Bitcoiners and Aquarian, Uranian energies is to bring the light of Prometheus. Also, another thing, Uranus is ruled also by Prometheus. That's why I put the link, because it is about bringing the light to oneself so then the collective can see you and say, oh, I want the same thing that they're eating. What is it that they're doing? And follow by not osmosis, because I don't think Bitcoin is something you should follow. It's something you should study, something that you should try. Maybe it's not for you. I've taught Bitcoin to a lot of people, and some people come back and said, I don't have the nervous system to look at a chart. And I said, well, then study the chart, and then you will understand that you're really being overwritten by your emotions. So yeah, so I think that there's this beautiful connection. I don't say it's going to be a very easy path, because we're going to enter this thing Tomorrow it starts with eclipse. The ruler of this eclipse is squaring, so 90 degrees with the eclipse. So we may see more stuff moving in the next few weeks. Is it going to surprise us? No, because we already know everything is fucked up. But the real normies are going to go, what's going on? And you go, well, psh, psh. You know, the Batman and Robin thing. It's like, wake up, wake up. This is the moment of awakening, like deep awakening. But as a soul, you have the choice to evolve or not. That's a
Yeah.
choice we have to let people take. Otherwise, they're not going to be individuated.
And I wanna say something else about the thing that I think is one of the most important things in, I don't know, in the next, definitely this year, but in the next few years and the next decade, and it's the younger generation, because they are being fucked over right now by the mind control and the algorithms and the digital reality, and where they're hurting them too. They're hurting them into a very tough world, and they are already starting to feel it. I went on a few podcasts with young people that have asked me questions that lead me to understand that they are scared and they're kind of like losing hope. They're not seeing the light in the end of the tunnel. So if we talked about before, snap out of your own shit so that you can help others, it's like it's 10 times more important that you do that for the younger people, because they really need us as the role models and as the ones to give them hope and to give them the security that it's going to be okay and life's going to look okay for you, even though right now nothing looks okay. Because we've been there and we've seen how life can be, and they kind of haven't seen that properly, or they don't remember. And they're digital native, so they have the potential to get into Bitcoin a lot easier and to get into Nostr and to understand decentralization. Like, they have the potential to be much better than us at it. And they are better. The young ones that are coming into it, look at the young ladies that are going to be with us in the Women of Bitcoin side. That's why we put a panel of the young girls, because they're like, you saw this Houston girl. She's like sitting all day on graphs and like talking to the young kids on Instagram and TikTok, telling them about, yields and fucking stretch and whatever. Like, who does that? They get it, and it's much easier for them. And we need to show them that it's possible to create a different route, a different lane for their lives.
I completely agree. I just did a
The
conversation with
social media is really, really dangerous for them. So we have to take parental authority, and even if we don't have kids, we have to be there as the role models for the young people and
I
invest the time.
totally agree, Efrat. We just had 4 Gen Zs at Bitcoin Day Naples. They were fantastic, young. I call them kids. I think
Yeah, they're kids.
one was 16 and the others were in their early 20s. And I just spoke with Ainsley Costello, who's selling her music for Sats on a number of platforms. I mean, these kids are incredibly bright, but at the same time, I do sense the nihilism and the fear. And I sensed it in my own children, right? Because, they got to experience in real time dad like going, the world is fucked. Like, this is all corrupt. Everything's a lie. And so then that sort of fractures their truth. And so then you do have to stand up for your community of children around you and your own kids and be like, but this is how we're going to fix it. And this is the future we're going to build. And I think that's so important in supporting those young kids in Bitcoin. Empowering them to give them voices as soon as possible, I think, is vital to our future.
Yeah. There's one thing that I get so annoyed by is every time my dad tells me, but that is human nature and it's always been like that, so it will always be like that, and there's nothing we can do about it. And I go, fuck this shit. I am not like you. I have hope and I see a bright future, and even if the world's gonna go on fire, I'm gonna build my own little cocoon, to hide in and create my reality. I refuse to take on this worldview that if everything is fucked for thousands of years, it's gonna continue being fucked. We've just discovered one of the most amazing, I don't know if it's a discovery or invention or whatever it is, which is, Bitcoin decentralization and the internet and technology that can help us be more sovereign. Why would we let that thread go? We have to keep pulling on that thread, and something really beautiful can emerge out of it. But we need the young people to help us build it, and we need the boomers to stay out of the way, or join us.
Well,
It's
Well,
not
okay
all
if
boomers.
you're
that's
Not all
gold, no
boomers.
problem. Go buy gold and sit on your gold.
Not all boomers. I think generalizing sometimes I'm technically in that thing, but I don't consider
No, you
myself.
know what I mean. I love boomers.
Yeah, no, I know, I know.
They're really cool.
No, they break. I wanted to talk a little bit about generations, that they all bring an evolutionary trait in their soul. And so we define generations in evolution astrology with where Pluto is. So I belong to the generation of Pluto in Virgo with Uranus. So it's all about trying to fix and refine what is not working. But then I realized that the more I try to refine and correct, the less I do. So what you do in evolution astrology is you go to the other side, which is Pisces. So I surrender. Can I fix it? No, let it be. Can I fix it? Yes. Okay, let's improve. So it's not about tweaking. Now, there's some people who were born after 1970 until 83. That you guys have Pluto in Libra. So it's all about trying to balance power between I am and you are or we are. So that's the whole thing. Then it comes the millennials, like hardcore millennials, 83 until I would say 96 or something like that. We have the people who are using ayahuasca. They're using all kinds of things, to confront their darkest side so they can transform themselves. And they're confronting. And they came with that because the Pluto is in Scorpio. So they came with everything needed to find out about their evolution through confrontation. Then we have the next generation, which I wanted to talk about because that's the one we're talking about, is Pluto in Sagittarius and Pluto in Capricorn, much younger. Pluto Sagittarius is really questioning, and we see these people are right now probably 21 to 26 years old. These people are questioning the meaning of life. So they already saw that their meaning of their life is shit, because they saw their parents complain about it. So I know personally a bunch of them that I became friends with. I mean, it's always funny because my friends right now are 27, 24, 23 years old. And I basically asked them so many questions because I want to really learn about them. I want to see what I can get instead of being the boomers is my way or the highway. It's like, no, move. Let's listen to these kids and so I learned how to read charts with one of these kids. He's anonymous. Hello. He doesn't allow me to say who he is, but he's amazing. He's amazing because his mind is wired already in the future. He stopped complaining. He saw his parents complain and he says, I'm going to do this. And so we became friends and we've been working together for years now. We have very long meetings and I've met more throughout. Like in Medellin, I met a very nice group of Bitcoiners that are very young. I mean, you met one of them, Efrat, Mikael. I was shocked
Yeah.
to know that he's so
Yeah.
young. I was shocked.
Yeah.
I thought he was.
wrote this book.
Yeah,
Good.
the Parásito. I'm finishing the book. He's amazing. Mikael is like, and he came. We were in a panel together, and afterwards, like, I really want to talk to you, and I was like, me too. And we talk, and then we've been corresponding. And at one point, I said, I do astrology, and he says, can I send you the chart? And I said, yeah. And then I was like, oh my god, you're a baby. But I'm not going to tell you. You're he's amazing. But his spirit, he's doing it and he's convinced and he's spending time and he's charming. He's just putting the energy in the right place. So I got really energized when I came back from from Medellin. The energy was absolutely beautiful. Everybody was talking about consciousness. Everybody was at that level. I did write an article that said Bitcoin is love, because when I came back, I was like, I really fucking love Bitcoiners. Like when they are really in tune, they're not complaining, but they're doing it's amazing. Yeah, big shout out to Michael.
That's awesome.
Yes. So
Go ahead, Efrat.
I'm bullish on the young generation, and and that's why also we do the Women of Bitcoin Summit, because we want to encourage the young women. We want to encourage women in general to learn and become more free and sovereign, but the younger ones, wow, it's really important.
Yeah.
So
And you're going to be having the next Women in Bitcoin event in Vegas? Is that correct?
no, we have the virtual one on March 4th and 5th.
Okay.
And we don't, and women
How do
from
people
all
find
over
out
the
more
world.
if they want to attend?
It's the Women of Bitcoin Women of Bitcoin Summit
IO, something like IO.
Women of Bitcoin.io. Yeah, that's the website, and you can find us on X or Nostr or Instagram, Women of Bitcoin Summit, and close to 900 women already signed up.
Awesome.
So we don't have a lot more room, but if you're quick, you
And
can still.
can men attend, or is only for women? Can men
Anyone can
wear
attend, but
wig?
we prefer women to attend because it's designed for them. We have 28 female speakers, and
I'm busy that
it
weekend
goes,
anyways, so
it goes
Yeah,
for
but
2
maybe
days.
some nice men are looking for women. No, I'm joking.
Yeah, right. I mean, yeah, if it's for that, you can come. 2.5 hours every day. We have 7 different panels, and in some sessions we have 2 in tandem. So you got to choose which one you want to go to. So yeah, definitely sign up. It's free. We made it free so that anyone can come. And no matter where you are in the world, even if it's in the middle of the night for you, you can still watch the recording later. And only if you signed up. And we have some sponsors, amazing, Abundant Minds and Rhino Bitcoin, that are helping us sponsor this so that it can be free. And we're also paying an honorarium fee for each one of the speakers, just because we want to acknowledge their time and energy, and we want to be the living example, speaking of which, because most Bitcoin conferences do not pay speakers, and they should. So we are, even though it's a virtual summit and it's digital, we are still paying each and every one of them because we feel it's important. But to your question, we will have more events in the future, and we will have some physical stuff, like in-person stuff. In Vegas, there is the women's brunch that Natalie holds every year. It's still the same
that's the one I was thinking
event
of.
that is going to happen. Yeah, in Prague, we're also going to have a women's brunch. So if you're coming to BCC Prague, there'll be one there. But yeah, we always collaborate because it's like, why not? We're trying to get to the same goal in the end. So let's just join forces and do it together. So we help each other. But this event is a team effort. And Natalie Brunel and Christine Marie Turner, it's just amazing. They're amazing. And I have put on my CMO hat for this month to work at marketing this event. And boy, I didn't miss being a marketeer, but I'm doing what's needed.
Awesome.
I committed to it, so I'm following through, but it's hard work.
Hey, I want to be cognizant of the fact that it's late where you are, Efrat. So, but I do have a couple more questions before we wrap up.
It's okay for me.
When you guys look at, everything that we've talked about today, but when you start to look going forward, like practical applications or practical things people can do, both on implementing the technology side to refining your frequency or your mindset, what do you see as the green shoots or the positive things coming down the road to aid us in sovereignty technology, and how Bitcoin could play a role in that?
Well, I see, if I can go first. I see that only when things are obstructed, people start seeing the truth, because you are limited. So I always see limitations as opportunities. So if you see yourself in a place where things like the roads are closing, the doors are closing, maybe try to look for a little window where you can open and see the light through there, and trust that that light might give you the idea or the courage to move forward. And if you don't know where, start raising your hand and asking people that you admire, people that you see that they're sovereign, people that they're doing the right thing. I want to learn more. I want to know how you do it. And then these people, like if you ask me, I will take you to different places. I probably read your chart. And then I said, but then you can join this community. Maybe you can do this kind of practice, like nonviolent communication. You can do circling. You can do so many things to put yourself, like your nervous system, back on track. So there's so many modalities. Now, the interesting thing is like many of these modalities are not, have not been integrated. So it's very rare to find a place where you can learn all of them. Right now, I belong in a community that they're doing that, and they're quite amazing. I'm actually had an interview with Joel and Yerasimos. You know them, Efrat, because you were a guest as well. And so I'm saying, look, I can go as far as read a chart, but I'm not going to take the responsibility of your road. But I can show you a bunch of weirdos, crazy, amazing men that have the program. And I have more of those. So I think that when people are genuinely curious, you find a way, because I've always been genuinely curious, and my intention is always to find a way to keep on evolving, and every day there's a new opportunity for me to evolve. So I do see it as opportunities. I don't see that it's going to be the end of the world. It could be the end of the world if you have not done the right things for you. So your world is going to end, but not like abruptly, but it's going to show you other opportunities, like it happened in 2020. If I had not listened to my intuition, I would be, I don't know, voting for Mandami. I don't think so, but like in a New York state of mind that is very different than the one that I live. So it's all about seeing those challenges as the most beautiful way to evolve, because it is through movement that we evolve. It is mutation that makes things evolve in nature. You just have to look at nature and see,
Yeah.
See those plants, they can go, they just go, like
They
just
find the
see.
light. Yep.
Yeah. Sometimes when I'm walking here in Miami, I do see, because, it's asphalt, but sometimes you see a little sprout of something, and I go
Yeah.
and say, oh my God, well done. Like a little sprout. I go, like, good for you. You're trying. And this is where I think that we're finding ourselves. Not everything is dry as concrete. There's light always.
Yeah.
And we are the light. We are the light.
Well said. Efra.
Yeah, what gives me a lot of inspiration and motivation is just the development of Noster tools and a lot of censorship resistant tools, privacy tools. I'm getting deeper and deeper into that, free and open source stuff. We love those decentralized protocols. So, like Monica said very accurately, when you get banned by Telegram or locked out of your blog, you have to, start taking the route for solutions. So I research more and I read, and obviously I don't get disheartened by these things, because with where I am in my journey right now, I'm just waiting for all of this to happen. I'm waiting for the first debanking or knock on my door or like, I'm not surprised by any of that shit. But when it happens, you have to do something. And I have started doing things already before, so I'm preparing myself all the time. But then, I got this thing with Substack, so I started taking more serious looks at Ghost, which is a free and open source blogging platform that TFTC is using, for example. Morty Bed is using that. And the kind of stuff that's coming out of the Nostr developers, like the white noise app that is going to be like Signal, but just not centralized, decentralized. So that's good. That's very exciting. So I'm following these guys and what they're building, and I'm trying new automation tools on Nostr all the time because I'm a content creator. So I want to be more efficient with my time. And instead of hiring people, I just bought a tool called Xnoster that is automating my Instagram and Twitter feeds into my Noster. So I'm saving time. Because I was about to hire someone to do, posting my posts from other social media into Noster through Primal Studio, but now I realize there's a tool to do that. So those develop, and I constantly I get in touch with them, and I volunteer to be their QA. So I give them feedback on the tools that they're building. So I'm not a developer myself, but I'm contributing to the developments of those tools because I really think they are the future. And yeah, obviously on the financial side, one of the things I do is wherever I go, even if Bitcoin is not used as a payment method, or it's not allowed to pay with Bitcoin, if people ask me something about money, I always ask, would you accept Bitcoin? And obviously they say no. And I say, why not? And they don't know how to answer. And then if they're genuinely curious, like Monica said, I teach them. I mean, I have a little bit of a conversation with them. I get them to download a wallet. I show them. And then they're like, oh my God. Oh, thank you. I paid the tour guide where was it, in Argentina? I took a tour. And I asked him, would you accept Bitcoin? Because he wanted tips in the end. It's one of those free tours, I want to give him $20, but I want to give him Bitcoin. It's like, yeah, I'll have it. Why not? It's like, okay, good. Download a wallet. And, the other day, a journalist, an investigative journalist, was asking for support. And I love supporting them because I want that support as well. I mean, and the ones that do good job, I want them to keep doing it. So I asked him, would you accept Bitcoin? He said, I will accept any support you give me at this point. I just need money. I'm like, okay, great. Let me send you Bitcoin. And he gave me a Bitcoin address. And I'm like, do you have Lightning? He's like, no, I'm not there yet. And I'm like, okay, so open a Noster account, download Primal, and we'll start getting some Bitcoiners over your way, So just create this reality around you. Don't be afraid to talk to people about it. In Florida, I stayed near Boca Raton, and I went to this cafe, and I came to pay for my breakfast, and they had the Strike point of sale. So I asked them, did you switch on the Bitcoin thing? Like, can you accept Bitcoin? And they said, what are you talking about? And I said, oh, didn't you know? And I showed them the article. And they're like, oh, we didn't know it's possible. And I'm like, okay, now you know. Okay, I'll tell my boss. Then I came the next week and I said, we switch it on? Can I pay you with Bitcoin? And they said, no, we didn't. Like, why not? I told you should. So,
lazy Americans.
Yeah, I don't want to dox the cafe. They should. They're such idiots for not doing it. They have Strike and someone told them and they still don't want to do it. Anyway, that's the thing. It's on us to create that reality we want to see. So yeah, instead of getting despaired at all the shit that's happening around us and that life doesn't look the way we want it to look, just do small things to get it there. Help your life become what you want it to be. So yeah, and read a good book and go touch grass and see the sunset and the sunrise and try to find sun. I managed to evade winter this year. I was chasing the sun, and 1 week of winter with Monica in New York. Other than that, it wasn't summer the whole
winter
year.
came to Florida this year. We didn't have to go anywhere.
I skipped it.
You skipped it.
You really skipped it, because I kept on thinking like, oh my gosh, she will be like crying, because I was not in a good place with that.
Yeah,
winter.
so
But
just
anyway.
figure out what's good for you. For me, it's being in the sun. So I just look for the sun,
Yeah, but this 2 weeks in January, they keep spraying and stuff like that. So there was no sun. Even like it was miserable to
Horrible.
be out there. I would go to my balcony with the duvet, and I was freezing because I don't have heater in my house. But I had to buy like a small heater and everything, because I've never experienced in 6 years this cold. I don't know, Paul, living in Florida for longer, but it was brutal. It was like, oh
Brutal.
my God, I was wearing everything.
It was colder right when I moved here. It hit 29
Yeah,
when I
well,
moved
there's
here.
no doubt that the electromagnetic field of the world is changing. Like it's, I don't know, the electromagnetic layer we have is getting thinner and thinner, and the poles are shifting, and so we are
This
experiencing stuff, but at
but
the same time, they are
this
spraying, and it's causing such
no,
a
this cold over the
such a
eastern United
chaos with
States,
the weather. Like the climate is crazy. What are you
this
saying, Mon?
cold was all induced. This winter has been induced for
Yeah,
some.
I have no doubt. But
It's
add
like
on top of it that there are a lot of solar, activities, and there are a lot of things that are happening. I've been studying a little bit of space weather. That's another rabbit hole I was going down. And so there's more stuff happening. And you can call me a climate denier, right? Like I'm not I'm a climate realist. So I don't
Well,
believe in climate.
so,
You know that
my
bullshit.
family came out of agriculture, and there's a lot of research done on weather and climate and to grow global crops properly. And they've been calling for this to be a micro cold, what do you call it? Not
Micronova?
what's that? What?
Micronova?
No, 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 no. Like what do you call it? Like a small ice age or a micro ice age
yeah,
over the next 30 years, where where they're kind of forecasting like coffee crop failures in the more extreme regions of South America where they're growing coffee, and wheat failures in the northern parts of the United States and Canada because they
I love
see like an
coffee.
era or a window here of some extreme cold. So, and they've been talking about that for as long as I've been
But there's
listening.
global warming, and we
Yeah,
have to cool down Earth
yeah.
and take down the temperature. So let's hide the sun. That sounds like a great idea.
Yeah.
well, it's also part of the jarring situation that we have to confront, that our conditions in the environment are different than when we grew up, and our economical conditions are different, our political conditions are different. Everything is changing and is shifting. So the more
Yeah.
aware we are of the complexity of this, not separate, but they're all are part of the same machinery, this is what gives us the possibility to become selfish in the sense is like, so how do I relate to this and make my decisions and then change that paradigm by my own action? Because I do believe if many people get together and they act, this little collective is going to move to another realm. And it's not about
Yeah.
following anybody. I don't believe in followers and stuff like that. I hate influencers with all my heart, um, because I think that Neptune in Pisces for 14 years really destroyed, and you were talking a little bit about it with social media, it destroyed the reality of the things because everything that is being sold is an illusion, is not true. So we're waking up to that truth to find out that these people are just selling stuff and they don't even live their life as they say that they do because they just show one face, they use filters. You name it. There's all kinds of stuff. So right now with Neptune and Saturn in Aries is like, who are you? The question is, who are you? And if you don't know who you are, okay, find out. This is a time to find out who you are, what is your identity, and how you're going to
Yeah.
enact your own authority by being authentic. But being authentic is a journey. You cannot just say I'm authentic, and you gotta like really work. Yeah, you have to be brave. So
All right, one last question for you girls before we go. 2025 was a new year for a lot. It's a whole new class of Bitcoiners, right? That came in 2025. Oh, Trump said it's great, and so I'm going to buy my first Bitcoin, and they're going to have a strategic Bitcoin reserve, and I'm going to get rich. And then the price goes sideways for a year, and then goes down in 2026. So
well,
for any of those people, right, that are new to Bitcoin, that came in with these preconceived notions that all of a sudden it's the state coin and it's all going to be great. What kind of advice would you give them if they're now thinking that maybe they don't really understand Bitcoin, maybe they don't really understand what they got themselves into, but they're drawn to this conversation of freedom and sovereignty? What advice, what guidance would you give somebody like that?
well, I think that it's interesting to talk about the price because if you look at 2024, we're in the same place, October 2024, we're at the 60s range. And then from there, October 24 until December 17, it went to the first all-time high. Okay. Then within 4 months, it went down to 74. And then it went to 126. And now, like a few weeks ago, when we had the big red candle, it reached the same 74 level. It took 300 days to do that. So when you understand that Bitcoin is money and it's not depending on like a switch that Trump is turning on and off, there's so many things that are making this work. You have to understand what a stable coin is. You have to understand what the short treasury bond is and how is it used. You have to understand the other hard money, like the metals, and what is being kind of played. I had to read, I think I met John Devine at one of the Naples events. So I read his book. I spoke to him. I was fascinated because he's young, but he was talking about derivatives like a year and a half ago. And I was like, what is he talking about? So I bought the book, started learning about reading charts. And then I'm like, oh my God, this market, it's not that they're manipulated, but the way that things are working are not the way people think that they work. Commoners, Bitcoiners on Twitter said 120, 100. What are you doing? You have to understand how these markets have been working and who is behind it. So it's not about one person that is saying that they're going to make the Genius Act. Have you read the Genius Act and what they're going to do? I mean, have you investigated? So there's a lot of education economically. I always advise any person who starts in Bitcoin to really study Austrian economics, to study either Seyfedians or go to the beginner, go to von Mises and Rothbard and understand why. Understanding economics, it's fundamental to understand Bitcoin, because Bitcoin is not just the number go up or down and crash. And yeah, you can trade it. I will not tell people what to do with their money because this is their own thing. So if you want to trade Bitcoin, go ahead. I'm not trading. I read charts because my goal is to become a technical analysis. That's when I grow up. That's what I want to be. So that's why I'm learning and studying, because as much as I can read astrology, I can read the markets with similar patterns. You're just looking at patterns and seeing how this wave goes. But also knowing that if I put any emotions into that reading, I'm not reading correctly, because one should not read with emotions like, oh, I want the number to go up. You just look up, down, 75, 65, next level, next level. That's it. So my recommendation is study what Bitcoin is fully, and don't wait for somebody to tell you what to do, because then you're doomed. Doomed.
Efrat, final words?
Yeah, and you're not going to get your answers in a WhatsApp group or a Facebook group or whatever. Like, stop being lazy and just like going to those places and typing your question. Anyone knows what to do when da 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 happens? Like, no, go and do serious studies. Like, serious. Like, people forgot how to study. Seriously, humanity is so fucking lazy. It kills me. Like, TikToks all day and short clips. I have a podcast with like 130 episodes. I put my heart and soul into it. It's like every conversation is between 1 hour to 2 hours. Monica has been a guest on my podcast. She knows. I really care about the long form content I create, because only then you can go deep and learn something. And this is only 1 hour. It's not like 4 hours or 10 hours. You really need to learn something. You need to put in the time. It's only 1 hour, and people don't have the patience to listen to a 1 hour conversation. So stop being lazy and learn how to learn. Remember how to learn and how to learn effectively, how to actually have the material trickle down to your cells of the body, and not just like a 1-minute clip on Instagram. No, it's not enough. You can't learn anything like that. So, my brother, my brother-in-law, so many new people that I brought into Bitcoin in the past year, they're all in. And every time there's like a massive price change, they're like terrified. And my response to all of them from the beginning, every time they would approach me when they're scared, it was like, I'm not having that conversation. because for me, Bitcoin is about freedom. So if you haven't put in the time to learn what this is not a stock, then I don't have the time to teach you because you need to care. I can't care about your money, and I'm not your babysitter. I'm not going to be here every time you need me to hold your hand. I mean, I love you. That's why I brought you into Bitcoin. That's why I'm talking to you right now, but I can't put that studying inside of your brain. You have to do the work. So I invite you to take this terrifying experience that you have right now and transmute it into a learning opportunity. And they stop calling me because they know I'm not going to help them. It's like you're on your own. That's the gift of Bitcoin. Like, it really sends you into your swimming class when you think you're drowning. You're like, start swimming, learn how to swim. This is your
Wow.
opportunity.
Very well
It's gonna
said.
be okay, but
Very well
I want
said.
so
to.
for all of
I
you
want-
guys, just joined and you're on the roller coaster, just put in the time to learn. Don't be lazy. And it's important because, watch my episode with Jeff Booth. We talked all about the distinction between Bitcoin as an asset versus Bitcoin as money. And why is it money? And
That was a good
why
one.
the systems of control and the chaos in our lives today are directly related to how people look at Bitcoin as a stock or an asset.
Yeah.
Well,
I wanted to add one last thing that
Sure.
happened in the last 24 hours. My brother is into education because my mother had schools. And so he recently opened a virtual schools that go all around Latin America. And we had a long conversation the other day because I taught him about Bitcoin, and my nephew, every time the price goes down, he goes, I'm buying the dip. He's 13. And so he said, how would you feel about studying with Austrian economics in Bitcoin in the virtual school? And he's expanding the schools all over Latin America. And so they're
In
online.
Spanish?
Yeah, I will do it in Spanish. And then eventually if they have English things. So I'm all about education because that's my background. My grandmother opened the first
That's
kindergarten in
great.
1939 in Colombia. And my mom was also a crazy woman, like just innovating education. So they always taught me that if I love something, I should teach it. And there's nothing that I love more than Bitcoin. I've never even taught art. I love making art and not teaching about art because it's a craft that is quite different. But Bitcoin and Austrian economics, here I come to be a teacher. So
That's really cool.
yeah.
Very cool. Well, ladies, you are both a force of nature. Thank you so much for sharing everything you know and have experienced in life with our audience today. If you want to give everybody like a little tag on where to find you and learn more about you, please do. And then we'll wrap up.
Thank you. You go first,
Okay.
Efred.
All right. So I'm on X and Nostr, and my blog is still on Substack. I'll give you one link to put in the show notes so you can find all my channels there. And my podcast is You're the Voice. And you do want to listen to it.
Yeah. I have a blog also on Substack, and it's monicabravo.blog. And I have other things that lead to my readings and my art, and everything else is kind of centered there. I'm also on Instagram, but I only should post about my blog, and because I decided to kind of leave a little bit that environment. And same with X. I just go in, but I don't stay. And I'm more actively on Nostr right now. I'm developing more, I don't know, muscle for that. And so I
Great.
think my name is Monikako. I don't know. Everything it's in my blog. So yeah.
Awesome.
And I highly, highly recommend Monica's readings. If anyone's curious to do a astrological and human design read, I think it's fantastic.
Thank you.
Been there, done that. Thank you.
Well,
You're
Highly recommend it.
Yeah, thank you. I'll just be a mirror to where you're at. So there's nothing woo-woo or spooky about it. It's just your blueprint from the day you were born. And so I only serve as a mirror. And people respond to it very well because I don't have any agenda, like you're still going to be free after 1 hour and a half to do whatever the hell you
You don't have to
want.
sign a terms of service?
No, nothing like that. But thank you so much. Yeah.
Thank you all. Like and
Well,
subscribe.
thank you for having us. This was so much
Yes,
fun.
Good. I'm
it was
glad you
good
guys
to
liked
see
it.
you, Paul.
So you've heard Bitcoin is the new gold rush by now. As world leaders on all sides have endorsed it as the future of money, and now you're looking to get started, we'll show you how. It's actually easier than you think. First, go to your nearest Byte Federal ATM and turn your cash to coin. Byte Federal has over 1,200 locations around the country with the highest daily limits. Go to our website, bytefederal.com, to find the nearest ATM to you. Log in to any wallet, then create an account, deposit your US cash, and instantly convert it to Bitcoin. That's it. We are the only US manufacturer and operator in the Bitcoin ATM industry, and our US-based live customer service is second to none. Go on, give it a whirl, and don't get left behind. Click the link below.